Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Lydslunacysubmissions here. We're back for another episode of Creepy Crochet and Creepypasta, a series where I crochet something creepy and talk about something even creepier like scary stories from around the internet. Today we're not going to crochet. I'm not feeling 100% and my wrists have been bothering me lately, but I still wanted to pull through and read one or two scary stories for you guys. So today we're going to dive into user Twhylight, which I love their username. When I came across their story, The Thing Over My Shoulder, it immediately had me hooked. I'm super excited to read it for you guys. We might get into a second story. We'll see how we're feeling, okay? So without further ado, let's get into The Thing Over My Shoulder. I've never been one to believe in the supernatural, but what happened to me and my girlfriend on that road trip, something changed. It's taken me a while to gather the courage to write this, and even now I can feel its eyes on me sometimes as I type. I've only been able to get a paragraph or two before I stop, but someone has to know. I despised long car rides. This fact wasn't lost on me when my girlfriend at the time, with the help of her parents, took it upon herself to fund a trip overseas to the USA, our own Great Western Trail. She conveniently forgot that she didn't have a license, leaving me as the sole driver. I grumbled at this, but a lot of money had been spent and given to us to do with as we pleased. I wasn't going to spoil this, as it was our reward for successfully graduating from university. The trip wasn't particularly memorable. When I think back on it, I struggle to recall most of the places we stayed. I remember landing in New York, spending a few days seeing the popular sights, and then renting a car and just driving. We had no real plan. With plenty of money, we could stay wherever we wanted. We had a few destinations in mind, but most of my checklist was on the West Coast. San Francisco and Vegas were still ahead, so driving was inevitable. We'd pick a highway or back road and drive until I needed a break. Even though I found it tedious, Megan's company was comforting, though the ride would grow silent when she slept. The monotony of towering trees, sprawling plains, and endless fields played tricks on my mind. The persistent rumble of the wheel and the silent, stagnant air, punctuated only by the hum of the engine, added to the oppressive sameness. This was the aspect of driving that I loathed. Only the occasionally passing street sign provided any change, offering glimpses of nearby towns or warnings of local wildlife. After 8 hours of uninterrupted driving one day, I hadn't encountered a single town or city. Normally, I'd pass through 3 or 4 in a day's journey, but this time the landscape remained stubbornly unpopulated. Yawning through my third can of energy drink, I considered pulling over in the middle of nowhere just to catch some sleep. Then, just as the fuel alarm blinked to life, a weathered sign appeared, almost too late, marking the turnoff to a town. There was a subtle unease as I veered off towards the exit. It struck me as odd that I could not recall any prior signs, yet the promise of fuel and a potential resting place outweighed my apprehension. The indicator ticking, the steering wheel turning, and Megan stirring beside me, I guided the car towards a place named Graysall. As the sun began its descent beyond the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty fuel station, Megan and I pulled in, grateful for a chance to stretch our legs. The flickering fluorescent lights above hummed intermittently, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the isolated place. "We'll fill up here," I said, cutting the engine. Megan nodded, glancing around at the quiet surroundings. "And where is here?" she muttered. "A possible place to sleep." I stepped out of the car into the cool evening air, the scent of petrol and dust lingering. The station was deserted except for a lone figure behind the counter engrossed in a magazine. I pushed open the creaking door and entered, a small bell chiming softly. The service worker looked up, a slight smile spreading across his young face as he greeted me with a nod. "Evening," I said, my voice echoing slightly in the empty convenience store. The worker stared at me, his smile showing teeth slightly. "Just the gas today?" he said, a slight jubilation in his voice. "Yeah, thanks," I replied absent-mindedly, pulling out some cash. "Cash all good?" "Of course." His reply was a little too enthusiastic, his speech lingering on the R. I handed him the cash and took my change. His smile widened. "Have a great day, sir." "Yeah, thanks," I replied, turning away. "Have a great day, sir." I paused, turned, and looked at the man again. His smile remained, showing all his teeth. The gnawing part was that he seemed unhappy. Not the soul-crushing service kind of unhappy, but there was something in his eyes. I couldn't quite describe it. "Have a great day, sir." He punctuated each word, eyes locked on mine. "I will, thank you." With the ring of the bell, I walked out the door, still feeling his gaze on me. His smile never wavered. As I fueled the car, I glanced back into the store. He was staring at me. I couldn't tell if he was laughing or crying behind his gritted teeth, but that damn smile remained burned into my mind. Getting back in the car, I shook myself. I was more than a little on edge. "You okay, babe?" Megan asked. I started up the car before pulling away. That was a chilling experience, I said with a forced laugh that even I didn't believe. How so? That guy was just creepy. No wonder he's out here at this station. There was a pause. Sure, Megan replied. Leaving the gas station behind, we ventured deeper into Graysall, a town seemingly caught in a perpetual state of half-hearted development. Quaint shops with faded facades lined the main street, their windows showcasing dusty displays of antiques and local crafts. A solitary traffic light flickered intermittently, casting an unsettling glow over cracked sidewalks and neglected flower beds. "The road less traveled," Megan remarked, peering out the window. "This truly is the explorer's way." "Yeah, a strange vibe," I agreed, my thoughts still lingering on the encounter with the service worker. As we drove further, we passed a weathered sign promising accommodations ahead. Following its directions, we found ourselves at a modest motel inside town. The car park was empty except for a few cars, their owners unseen in the fading light of dusk. "I guess this will do for the night," I said, pulling into a parking space. Stepping out of the car, we were met with curious glances from the sparse population, their greeting smiles short, but their stares lingering a little too long. The motel seemed to stand in silent anticipation, its neon sign buzzing faintly against the growing darkness. I leaned in close and whispered to Megan, "What's with the looks?" She glanced at me, brushing off my concern. "It's a small town," she replied in a normal tone. "We're tourists in a backwater town. Of course we're going to get looks." After locking the car doors, we walked towards the somewhat inviting light of the lobby. Just as I approached the door with Megan in the lead, I paused and glanced over my shoulder. There was a whisper on the wind, a fleeting sound or thought. The caffeine was wearing off, and with a violent shake of my head, I dismissed it and entered the cramped lobby. "Hello there, dears," the wizened caretaker woman creaked, her smile forming like cracks on old porcelain. "A room for the two of you?" Megan smiled back brightly. "Yes, just for the night, please. One double bed." The woman nodded in acceptance and wrote down our details in a dusty ledger which appeared unusually sparse. We seemed to be the only current reservations. "A couple's room. Names, please?" "I'm Megan, and this is Mitchell." Megan and Mitchell. I do like the letter M. A chuckle rattled through her, revealing teeth that seemed too white against her weathered skin. Megan shifted slightly, her gaze wandering around the lobby with a casual interest. "And where are you off to?" the caretaker queried. Megan stepped closer to respond, but I cut in. "We're just travelers. How much for the room?" Her grin widened. $40 for the room. She offered the key to us, seemingly pulling it from thin air. "Thank you," I said, taking it cautiously. Leaning against the counter, I counted out the notes before passing the key to Megan. "Is there a place to eat around here?" I asked, handing over the money. "Eat?" She seemed surprised. "Best not to linger when it gets dark. There's a vending machine with snacks. I'm sure you'll be okay." I glanced outside. Darkness had fallen swiftly, cloaking the town like a shroud. "Okay," I nodded. "Do many people come this way?" I asked, thinking back on the ledger. The caretaker paused before she took the money, her smile widening slightly. "They come when they are needed." She took the money. "Have a great day, sir." "Sure." I turned to step away, but her grip tightened on my wrist, making me look back. Her eyes pleaded, and her teeth gleamed brightly as her smile stretched her wrinkled skin. "Have a great day, sir." I was shocked by her sudden strength and didn't move. Megan intervened smoothly. "Good night, ma'am." Her tone was breezy. Her grip released sharply. Megan was next to me with a cheerful expression. I checked my wrist and looked back at the caretaker. Her smile was still wide, but her mouth was closed. What just happened? Nodding awkwardly, I hurriedly left, my instincts telling me to keep her in sight, to not turn my back. Only when we opened and closed the lobby door did I dare to relax. "She seems nice," Megan remarked, glancing back at the lobby with a dismissive shrug. I huddled close to Megan as we approached our vehicle. "Didn't she seem a bit odd to you?" I asked. She grabbed me, Meg, like full-on crypt keeper clutched my wrist, I said with a touch of annoyance. "I wouldn't call that a grab. I think she just touched your hand in a friendly way." She laughed as she pulled her suitcase out. "Probably just thought you were flirting or something." "I wasn't." "Relax, Mitch. Older folks can be like that." I wanted to press the issue further, but Megan brushed me off again. Was it just me? Glancing back, I saw the caretaker woman in the distance, appearing to close up shop. She gave us a glance and a smile before hastily dropping the shutters. Shaking off the odd feeling, I turned back to find Megan making her way obliviously to the door. I took my bag and followed dutifully. She slid the key into the lock and opened the door. Surprisingly, the room appeared to have been recently renovated. There was a modest TV and a large double bed. The calming blue interior was a stark contrast to the worn exterior of the motel. Megan responded with a jump, flopping onto the bed. Not bad for $40. I smiled at her enthusiasm. Hungry? Not really. Didn't she mention something about a vending machine? She dug her phone charger out of her bag. I guess all the local eateries close early due to the small population. That's how I interpreted her warning, I added uncertainly. Maybe there's a high crime rate? You think there'd be lots of criminals in a place this small? The sound of her phone accepting charge punctuated her question. I don't know. Why else would she warn us about going out? Megan shrugged. Maybe she's just cautious? I nodded, mainly to myself, and started towards the bathroom. This place better have running hot water. The shower was a far cry from the room. Perhaps they ran out of budget before getting to the tiles and plumbing. At least the light worked, and more importantly, the hot water. I let it steam up before indulging in the warm embrace. My mind wandered, as shower thoughts tend to encourage, lingering on today's drive. I struggled to remember any major landmarks or anything of note. There was nothing. I kept pressing on the thought, all notions of washing myself forgotten. Beneath the roar of the running water, there was another sound. A buzzing, a whisper, a constant tone. I couldn't recall ever hearing it before. As the water began to go cold, a memory resurfaced. I did pass signs on the road, all pointing to Graysall. It made sense, but for 8 hours? The buzz grew louder as I pushed further in my mind. The signs to Graysall were always the same. It was always the next exit. A loud knock on the bathroom door startled me. You good? Megan asked. A shock of cold shivered me awake. I was freezing. Yeah, I'm good. Be out in a minute. The sudden silence of the room was deafening. I strained to hear the buzz, but there was nothing. I made my way to the mirror, broke open my toiletry bag, and began to brush my teeth. I kept my eyes down towards the sink, focusing on the routine. A nagging feeling in my gut made me hesitate to look up, so I kept my head firmly angled down. With clean teeth, I spat out the toothpaste and looked up out of habit. My reflection stared back at me. But there was something else. I couldn't see it. Behind me were just broken white tiles, but something was there. Dread crept through me as I remained still, locked in a staring contest with my own reflection. I dared not move. The buzzing returned, a presence gripping my very being. It was as if I stood on the edge of a cliff, knowing full well that stepping off would be fatal. I knew that if I glanced slightly to the left of my shoulder, my life would be over. Time passed, I don't know how long, before I closed my eyes. The feeling slowly dissipated, and I stepped away from the sink and out of the bathroom door into the bedroom. My breath was heavy, buried deep in my stomach. Every movement felt like dragging boulders. Only when I opened my eyes and saw Megan lying casually on the bed with her phone did I let out a shudder of relief. You were in there a while, she remarked, not looking up. You'd better get some sleep. I think so. I made my way to the edge of the bed and climbed in, my neck stiff and taut. I couldn't even glance behind me. Something was there, and I knew it meant the end. Lying on my back, I turned my head toward Megan, a protest forming on my lips. It got stuck in my throat as the oppressive blanket of dread fell over me, digging into my back and spine. I stopped myself as my stomach dropped again, the pits of my being filled with hollow trepidation. The words were stuck in my throat. I wanted to say it, to desperately convey that something was wrong, but terror engulfed me. What's that, babe? Megan asked, her tone light. Nothing. I just need sleep, I muttered in defeat. The feeling receded. The disquieting unease left me. She smiled and gave me a peck on the cheek. I'll leave you alone tonight so you can rest up. Maybe tomorrow will be better. I could only nod. Couldn't she sense something was wrong? How could she be so cheerful and flirty? She turned away, set her phone's alarm for the morning, and nestled into the covers. I did not sleep. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling. Time passed in a haze, the seconds blending into minutes, minutes stretching into infinity. My eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through the thin curtains, and I began to notice the minute details of the ceiling above me. Tiny cracks splintered across the plaster, the paint already beginning to peel from its fresh coat, revealing faint water stains and the occasional cobweb as a finishing flourish. I could make out the slight variations in texture where the roller marks overlapped during the last haphazard paint job. My mind fixated on these imperfections, a desperate attempt to anchor myself in the mundane. Yet, the oppressive feeling lingered, a weight on my chest. It wasn't as strong as before, but its presence was undeniable. The sense of absoluteness gnawed at me from the left, a silent reminder of whatever unseen horror lay just out of sight. Every instinct boiled over, urging me to keep my gaze forward, to not turn my head even the slightest bit. The thought of what might be there, lurking in the shadows, was too much to bear. My body remained rigid, my breath shallow and controlled, as if any sudden movement or noise might draw its attention. Megan's soft snores provided a fragile comfort. I wanted to wake her, to share the burden, but the words wouldn't come. I was trapped, a prisoner to this unseen menace. As the hours dragged on, sleep eluded me. The darkness outside deepened, the walls pressing in as if to crush the air from my lungs. I clung to the small details of the ceiling, knowing that dawn was still hours away. I couldn't bear another moment of this. Slowly I lifted myself from the bed and made my way to the door, keeping my head still. Hunger had set in. I moved silently, cautiously crossing the cold car park to the glow of the vending machine. Inside, a variety of snacks looked faded from the sun. I pulled out a note and fed it to the machine. The machine accepted the note, and I pressed the combination, seeking distraction in the mundane. The spool spurred to life as the snack slid forward and then down. I bent down to retrieve it. That's when the chanting began. I turned slowly towards the sound, my insides twisting uncomfortably. Ahead, a gathering of people stood in a crescent shape inside the park by the motel, including the service worker and the caretaker woman. They surrounded a small pile of seemingly random items, illuminated faintly by the park lights. Even from a distance, I could discern the silhouettes: a pair of glasses, a map, a wallet, and keys. The chant resonated through the still night, each syllable rolling off their tongue with a rhythm that felt both ancient and powerful. The words were guttural and melodic, filled with a haunting cadence that sent shivers down my spine. As the group circled the mundane items laid out in ritualistic precision, their voices rose and fell in a foreign, almost otherworldly harmony. The air seemed to vibrate with each intonation, weaving an invisible web of dread around me. My heart pounded and my skin prickled as if the air was charged with dark energy. Though I couldn't understand the words, the intent behind them was clear: summoning, binding, compelling. Echoes with the weight of forgotten rituals. Each phrase seemed to hold a hidden meaning, a dark promise, as if the chant itself was a living entity reaching out to ensnare any who dared listen. The figures began to turn towards me. Despite being about 20 meters away, I unconsciously crossed the car park and stood by the street, now able to make out their faces as they surveyed me. Their wide smiles and mouths agape revealed what felt like too many teeth. The chant continued, their mouths twisting to form the sounds, yet their eyes betrayed terror. Pleading looks from all of them tore through me, screaming at me to leave. But their welcoming bodies stretched wide, inviting me to cross the asphalt street. The clash of emotions, fear, menace, and warmth all fought one another to be the primary feeling. The scratching ache of whatever was at my back propelled me forward, a beckoning in my mind to join the circle. Yet my body protested, every muscle screaming, "Run." The dread built as if it sensed my thoughts. With a great uncertain step, I turned my back on the group and walked back to our room. As I turned away from the gathering, my heart sank as I breathed in, long and deep. Each step back towards the motel felt like wading through molasses. An invisible force clawed at me, pulling me back towards the chanting group. The ache in my chest intensified, as if something was trying to rip my soul from my body. My muscles tensed and strained with every movement. The chant almost engulfed me, surrounding me in a maw of alien chants. The distance to my room seemed to stretch, the dim lights of the motel flickering in and out of focus. Each step forward was a battle against an unseen force that grew stronger with every passing second. My mind reeled, assaulted by a barrage of whispered temptations and threats that made my skin crawl. I could feel the dark energy digging into me, its tendrils wrapping around my bones, threatening to pull me apart. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead, and my vision blurred with the effort of resisting the pull. It was urging me to turn back to the comfort of the gathering behind me. The door to our room was just ahead. My hand trembled as I reached out, fingers barely grazing the doorknob. I looked forward as I felt the door, but my consciousness felt miles away. Each touch of reality was such a distance. With a Herculean effort, I twisted the knob and stumbled inside, collapsing against the door as it swung shut behind me. Everything was quiet. The room was dark. The sight of Megan lying asleep on the bed brought everything into focus. My heart pounded in my ears, but I was slowly coming back to my senses. I looked around the dark room. I was here. Everything was back in its place. I strained again to hear outside. Nothing. I paused and hesitated to look over my shoulder. Nothing. I turned and cautiously looked over my shoulder towards the door. Nothing. I locked the door slowly, made my way to the bed, and crawled inside. I felt I wanted to say something to Megan or awaken her, but something held me back. My earlier fear was distant, lingering in the back of my mind. The thought was different now. It was almost as though it would become real if I acknowledged what happened. I listened one more time, trying to make out any sound of what was outside. Nothing. I slid closer to Megan, wrapped tightly around her, and chose to forget. Sleep was not too far behind. I woke in a sudden panic. Upright, I observed the surroundings. The nice calm blue of the room was brightened by the subtle sun through the blinds. Morning had arrived, and Megan walked out of the bathroom, brushing her teeth. "Sleep well?" she asked. I took a brief moment to stabilize myself and breathed deeply. "I think it's best we keep moving," I replied. She smiled and made her way back into the bathroom. By the time she finished up, I had packed our bags and was walking out the door. "Why the rush?" she laughed. I didn't pause to answer. I had packed the car before Megan climbed into the passenger seat, a confused look on her face. "Why so sudden? I have to drop the key off, babe." I drove closer to the lobby. The shutters were still down. I pulled the handbrake and took the key from her hand. "I'll drop them off. Be 2 moments." I got out and hurried to the chute. Glancing around, the park seemed normal in the light, but the ominous feeling lingered in the air. Keys deposited, I rushed to the car and slammed the door shut, locking the doors for good measure. Megan rolled her eyes and sighed. With glances in the mirror and a careful foot, I made my way towards the highway, the open road. I kept checking. Every minute or so I surveyed the town as we traveled. We were up pretty early for the cozy little town, which seemed deserted. It was not long until we had left the confines of Graysall and were back out through the woods. "Are you going to tell me what that was about?" Megan asked. I looked at her and feigned a nonchalant smile. "Cozy little hideaway towns are not my thing. I'm keen for the big smoke, as they say." "So you didn't sleep?" I didn't know why I didn't tell her. Part of me wanted to keep the truth as a lie. I wanted to keep her safe from whatever that was. I sighed as I relented and opened up my thoughts. "All right, so..." Another part of me screamed in terror as a rising feeling tangled my neck. I stopped myself again. A glance in the rearview mirror and I could sense it again. I could feel it was behind me in the back. But all I could see was the back window and the suitcases lying on the seats. It was still here. I couldn't look again. I looked away from the mirror and straight ahead. "Yeah, average sleep," I hesitantly stated. "Are you okay?" I paused and nodded. Megan seemed to have accepted that answer and went back to idling. I wanted to say more. I was screaming in my mind, but it stopped me. The tension in the car was palpable, my mind racing with the events of the night before and what lingers behind us. Megan leaned back in her seat, quietly scrolling through her phone. I tried to focus on the road ahead, but the unease in the pit of my stomach wouldn't let up. Minutes passed, and the silence between us grew heavier. The winding road seemed to stretch endlessly, the trees blurring into a monotonous green. Suddenly, a faint flash of red and blue lights appeared in the distance, reflecting off the rearview mirror. My pulse quickened, but I kept my eyes fixed straight ahead, refusing to look back. Megan shifted in her seat, noticing the lights as well. "Are those?" She trailed off, her voice tinged with concern. I swallowed hard, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "Probably just a routine check," I muttered, trying to keep my voice steady. The lights grew brighter, closer, casting an eerie glow inside the car. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing the dread I felt deep inside. The urge to glance in the mirror was overwhelming, but I fought it, knowing that looking back might reveal more than just the police car. The siren blipped, a short, sharp burst that made me flinch. Megan turned to me, her eyes wide with worry. "What should we do?" "Just stay calm," I replied, though my own nerves were fraying. "I'll pull over." I eased the car to the side of the road, the lights now glaring in full force through the back window. My hands shook as I shifted the car into park and rolled down the window. The officer approached, his silhouette framed by the flashing lights. Megan's fingers brushed against my arm, a silent gesture of support. "Good morning," the officer said, his tone neutral but firm. "License and registration, please." "Of course, sir." I pulled out my license and the relevant paperwork from the glove department. I handed them over as he began to scrutinize. His mirrored glasses glared at me, forcing me to look away. "You know why I pulled you over, sir?" No, I do not." "Your tail light is out." "Oh, it's a rental. It was definitely good when we left New York." "Yes, I can see that." A pause. I looked up as he continued to read the papers. His face was stern and aged, poring over each of the documents that I handed him. "Did you notice anything last night in town?" I gripped the wheel in surprise. The itch and clawing returned, digging into my spine. Like what, sir?" He looked at me. I felt my head move with strain to look at him. Something invisible, a dark presence, was gripping my head. "Did you notice anything at all, sir? No noises, no strange occurrences?" Another grip on my arm, this one from Megan. There was concern in her touch. I could feel her eyes on me, sensing something was wrong. No, nothing at all. Slept like a baby." The pause dragged on for too long. Each second felt like an eternity as the presence tightened its hold, sending waves of terror through my body. "So, you're a foreigner, driving through the state in a car with a broken taillight that you hired from another state," he sighed audibly. Too much paperwork. He handed me the papers, which I gladly grasped, but they didn't move. He was gripping them tightly as I tugged at them. "You got anything to say to me, sir?" There was a menacing threat in the tone of his voice. I glanced down and saw he was gripping his pistol still in the holster. My neck suddenly craned upwards as an unseen force began controlling my movements. My entire body was on fire from fear. My muscles ached as the invisible claws dug deeper into my shoulders. My eyes shook from the pain as my cheeks tightened, pulling further and further apart in a smile too large for my own face. "Have a great day, sir." The policeman smiled widely back, almost in a wicked greeting. His hand left the gun as his smile grew wider to match my own. "And you have a great day too, sir." Wow, that was excellent. So what I'm getting is that there's this thing, this entity that I guess occupies this town and latches itself onto people, or maybe there's more than one entity that latches themselves onto the townspeople. Them circling around these objects was from, I don't know, like another traveler that they were offering to the entity to grasp onto this person, but because our narrator kind of interrupted it and accidentally witnessed it, the entity latched onto him instead. It's forcing the people to smile and be so nice and say, "Have a great day," and "Oh my god, we're so happy you're here," but in reality, the way they're looking at him, like the gas station worker, his eyes were, he said he couldn't tell if the guy was really, really happy and smiling or crying. So it's almost like he was smiling so hard because he was being forced to, but in reality, his eyes were crying, telling the guy, like, "Turn around, do not come here." That was great. I really like the style of this author. The world building was very immersive. Everything just felt supernatural. I could picture myself on this road trip with them. The dialogue, I could hear clearly in my head. I could get the body language. Everything just worked and flowed. I really like this author. That story was a little bit shorter than I expected it to be reading it out loud, and the author themselves actually recommended to me another story because I specifically said that I enjoyed this one, and they said, "If you like the thing over my shoulder, you should check out this one." So let's go ahead and read a second story. Okay, here it is. It's called "My Mother Passed and I Still Follow Her Little Rituals." Let's get into it, y'all. Knock, knock, knock. I dragged myself out of bed and tapped the wall above me 3 times. The plaster is cold under my knuckles and the echo hums like the house is listening. Mum used to say it didn't like surprises. Slippers on, bed made, corners tight, sheets smooth. Pillows must touch at the corners. Window open, door open, closet check, check again, open, shut, pause, open, shut, move on. I sighed as I approached the door. Light on, off, then to the window again. Curtains pulled halfway, then fully, then half again. The folds have to line up. I run my finger along the sill for 10 seconds. Dust gathers beneath my nail. I wipe it away after counting out loud. The floorboards creak as I step into the hallway. I count each one. 7, always 7. If I don't hear the creaks, I start again. The bathroom mirror waits for me, fogged though the air is cold. I breathe on it and draw a small circle before stepping into the shower for 3 minutes. 2 cold, 1 hot. The steam frames my circle in the mirror. I stare at it. My reflection looks tired. I whisper good morning to her, then wipe the glass clean. The streaks have to fade evenly. In the kitchen, everything feels quieter. The hum of the fridge, the soft scrape of the chair against tile. I make tea in the same mug, with the same teaspoon. The water must boil first, but stop just before the bubbles. No steam. Then pour. Wait 3 breaths before adding the milk. The spoon must rest straight across the room when I'm done stirring. I set the mug down and walk to the sink. I take the cup from the bench and place it in the sink. It hadn't been used, but it had to be there. Now the tap has to run. Cold first, then hot, then cold again. I let it flow as I sip my tea. After 10 mouthfuls, I turn off the water and let the quiet fill the room. The clock ticks in the next room. I count 6 seconds, then listen for the creak above me. The ceiling always answers with one soft pop, like a sigh. Only then can I breathe. Mom used to say the house doesn't like surprises. She would whisper it every morning, soft enough that I thought she was talking to the walls. After doing my makeup, I grabbed my coat, opened the front door, and carried her quiet insistence with me. My phone vibrates. I smile at the movement because I know exactly who it is. Meet you at the usual place, babe? Absolutely. The street feels alive in a way the house never does. Cars hum in the distance, a dog barks somewhere behind a fence, and the sound of my shoes on the pavement feels light. I catch a rhythm in the tapping. I almost want to match it, then shake my head. It passes. By the time I reach the cafe, the morning finally feels ordinary. My head isn't counting. The folds, the water, the creaks, they all stay behind the door. I let myself smile at the reflection in the glass, letting the thoughts of Luke perk me up. He's already there, near the window, that lopsided grin he can't hide. "Hey," he says, standing to kiss my cheek. "You look good." "Do I?" I smiled back. "You seem tired." "Last night." He stifles a yawn. "Work stuff." We sit, the usual spot. His black coffee arrives while I get my latte. The barista knows our order now and makes it without our input. She winks at the both of us playfully as Luke hands her cash. "How's the house?" Luke asks once we've settled. "Gotten any better since Mum?" I stir my drink slowly. "The same still." I sigh. A pause. A small, private memory surfaces. Mom standing by the kettle, turning it off before it fully boils. I shake it away. He reaches over, hand covering mine. "Okay, I won't talk about her. What about you? Are you okay?" "Yeah," I say, letting the feeling pass through me, fleeting. It's hard. Definitely quieter now. An employee taps from the counter, making me catch my breath for a second. 1, 2, 3. I let it go. Luke's hand is still there. I just follow my routines. Feels like she's still there sometimes. I say quietly. "Wait, as in like a morning routine?" His brow furrows, curiosity mixed with concern. "Yeah." I trace the rim of my mug, letting the warmth steady me. "She made me do it. I've always done it. I think it's OCD. Luke blinks, surprised. "You think?" I nod, shrugging. Obsessive-compulsive disorder. That's what it feels like to me. Counting, aligning, checking. It's all too familiar. He leans back, silent for a moment, letting my words sink in. "So it's not just like making your bed then having your toast?" I shake my head, almost embarrassed. "Not really. It's a lot more than that." I glance at him, letting the pause speak for me. I look at the lovely man in front of me, noticing the way he watches me, the way his eyes soften but his mind is clearly racing. I still struggle to fathom life without him, even though it's only been a few months. His mouth begins to move again. "Okay, I've never noticed it out here, not at work, or here," Luke says, brow furrowed. "No," I reply, stirring my latte. "It's at home, only at home. I don't understand. Is it just the morning?" I shake my head, feeling the memory grip me. Night as well. I haven't slept at another person's house in, well, I don't know how long. One time I snuck out and tried to stay at a friend's place, but by the time I got there I had to go home. I didn't do the thing. He studies me quietly, his hand still over mine. The thing? The routines, the counting, the aligning. It's not optional. If I don't do it, I feel wrong. I can't sleep, I can't eat. I have to do it. I look down at my mug, tracing the rim. That's why you only see me during the day. I have to do it. Luke leans back, his chair creaking as it rocks gently. My leg bounces steadily, betraying the tension I try to hide. "You know, if you want, you could stay at my place tonight," he offers. My heart skips. I look up at him, surprised. I don't know. I just said that. His hand steadies my vibrating thigh, and I flutter. Don't worry. I'll help you. Make sure you're safe. You don't have to go home and do the things if you don't want to. His other hand tightens over mine, gentle but grounding. A warmth spread through me, almost making me forget the counting, the aligning, the rituals. I can't help the little smile that spreads across my face. You'd do that? Of course, he says softly. I just want you to feel normal for once. No routines, no panic, no rules. Bro thinks that he can just, cure OCD. He can just eliminate his girlfriend's magical thinking by inviting her for a sleepover. It's kind of dismissive of how debilitating of a disorder OCD is. Anyways, I'm getting off track. I bite my lip, trying to steady my racing heart. The thought of being somewhere else with him, even just for one night, makes me swoon inside. Almost like I could belong somewhere else. Then his tone shifts, hesitant but determined. Maybe, after tonight, you could try skipping one small thing. Just one. See how it feels. I freeze. The idea stabs into me like a knife. My fingers tighten around the mug. Skip something? Yeah, he says, gentle, coaxing. Nothing crazy, just break the pattern, even a little. You might see it's not as bad as it feels. I swallowed hard. My chest tightens. My mind flashes through countless mornings and nights. The ceiling creaks, the mirror, the doors, the lights. The house would be unattended. It needs me. Then I glance at him again, at the concern in his eyes, the soft curve of his mouth, and my chest softens. I want to trust him. I want to. Just this once. The day passes almost too quickly. With Luke, time feels soft and forgiving. I can sit without counting, touch without aligning, breathe without checking, but it seems over before I can truly enjoy it. The thought of going home lingering in the back of my mind. As we arrive at his apartment, I take in its colors, its smell, and style. I smile again in genuine happiness seeing someone else's residence. He hands me a spoon unexpectedly and I place it down in surprise. See? He says, grinning when I leave it tilted at an angle on the counter. You're fine. My smile begins to fade as the unease tugs at me. The small freedoms feel dangerous, almost indulgent. I try to vent the situation to him. I tell him about Mom, the rituals she demanded, the way they filled every morning and night. The house doesn't like surprises, she would always say. At night, I murmur, Mom would make me do it all again. Washing, lights, doors, mirrors, beds. Not just chores, but silly things like placing one glass on the bench and then moving it after 20 seconds. Counting the creak of the boards 7 times. Tapping the walls, tracing the windowsill. Water on, water off. 2 minutes cold, 1 hot. And if I didn't, the feeling would start. The horrible, crawling, pressing feeling. He reaches for my hand, gentle and coaxing. And now you're letting it rest. Just for today, he says. Just this one day. I nod, warmed by his presence. The thought of staying feels intoxicating. His fingers brush through my hair, linger along my wrist. His smile, the curve of his mouth, the way he leans in. It makes my chest ache in a way that has nothing to do with panic. I could stay here. I swallow hard, the words tangling in my throat. I think... He tilts my chin, eyes searching mine. You don't have to do anything tonight. I just want you here, with me. Just try. My chest tightens as my mind flashes forward, imagining the night. The bed he has, the soft light, the quiet, but also the ceiling that doesn't creak the right way. The mirrors that won't fog correctly. The closet doors that won't line up. The first stirrings of panic take hold. You'll be safe, he murmurs, brushing his hand over my cheek. I promise. I take a trembling breath and nod. Okay, I'll try. Even as the words leave me, the creeping tension begins. By late evening, I'm still with him, laughing softly at the movie we watch, holding his hands, leaning against him while the city hums outside. It feels like peace, a false peace. Then the whispers begin. Midnight approaches, and the house in my mind awakens. Luke notices my discomfort, takes both my hands in his. You got this. Okay, did anybody else catch that? Midnight approaches, and the house in my mind awakens. So, does it even actually have anything to do with the house that she lives in? Is the house not actually her house, but something else that she's referring to that stays kind of stagnant in her mind as long as she follows these routines. I'm wondering if this is all some kind of metaphor for OCD in general, or the rituals, the routines that someone with OCD has to follow. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back into it. Luke notices my discomfort, takes both my hands in his. You got this. I shake my head, panic tightening my chest. The pressure starts to mount. I can't. Not tonight. I'll feel it. He hesitates, then leans closer, soft but insistent. Babe, it's okay. Stay with me. I'm here to help. I bite my lip, trembling. Desire, trust, fear, each one pulling in opposite directions. The whisper grows into a growl, my mother's voice crawling through my head. I can almost feel it on my skin. The breaths come. I can't breathe all of a sudden. I stand abruptly. I have to go. Luke's expression softens, concern and confusion in his eyes. Okay, let me drive you at least. No, I shout. The feeling in my head grows louder, angrier. My heart flexes into a contortion I didn't think possible, making the room spin. I've never felt something like this. I've never felt something like it before in my life. Mom was right. I had to go home. I leave without another word. Luke's cries of worry follow me out as I run. The journey home is frantic. Every step pounds in rhythm with a growing panic. I count them to stay focused. I can't see the ground properly, but I make out the shapes of the concrete squares. 2 steps in each, then to the next. I count the parked cars as I pass, starting again if I see a white one. No matter what I do, the house screams in my mind. I have to be home. I burst through the door, the familiar smells and quiet overwhelming me. It feels like stepping back into someone else's skin. I had to make it right. I start immediately to the bedroom. Did you notice how she always said that the routine stays in the house and she is free when she's outside of the house? And now, on her way back just now, she was counting the cars, making sure she only took 2 steps on the sidewalk, so it did spread outside of the house. I start immediately to the bedroom. I knock on the wall 3 times. I strip the bed and remake it. Corners perfect, pillows just touching, sheets straight, closed window, closed door, closet doors opened and shut in precise repetition, curtains drawn, then half, then fully, lights flicked on, off, finger along the sill, hallway, count the floorboards creaks, 7, always 7, bathroom, fog mirror, draw circle, the water, 2 minutes cold, 1 minute hot, mirror wiped in careful circles until the streaks fade evenly, kitchen, boil the kettle, no bubbles or steam, tap water running cold, hot, cold, everything in its place, exactly how it should be. The horrible feeling creeps up, inch by inch. It starts in my stomach, low and sour, climbing toward my throat. Mom's voice murmurs insistently in my head, that same hushed, rhythmic chant she used to whisper when I was little. Do it now. In the bedroom, as I prep for bed, I glance at the clock. It's almost midnight. The feeling should be fading by now, but it isn't. It's getting worse. What did I forget? The bed, the window, the wall, the closet, the mirror, the kitchen. The cup. It's still in the sink. I run downstairs, skipping the creaking floorboards. The house feels as if it's to swallow me. Every corner seems to lean closer, every shadow pulsing with that same insistent breath. I pull the cup from the sink and place it on the counter. 20 seconds. That's all. My vision blurs. My chest tightens. The air feels thick and syrupy. Something's pressing behind my eyes. Something that wants out. My whole body vibrates with alien energy. Hoping the seconds are correct, I slid the cup into its final resting place for the night. Silence rushes in like a wave. The clock strikes midnight. And then, the groan. That deep, familiar creak and pop from the roof, long and satisfied. The pressure eases. The dread fades. I make the ponderous steps up the stairs before sinking into my bed, exhausted but safe. For tonight, the house is calm. I didn't even notice my phone buzzing in my bag. Missed calls, messages, his words spilling across the screen, apologies if he'd seemed too forward, just wanting me to be okay. I passed out before I could reply. Okay, so maybe it is a monster house situation where the house genuinely gets pissed off if she doesn't follow these rituals. Morning comes in soft light, washing over the house. I lie still for a moment, listening. No creaks, no groans from the walls. The house is calm, obedient once again. I swing my legs over the side of the bed and start the day the only way I can. Knock the wall 3 times. Bed corners straightened, sheets smoothed. Pillows just touching. Window open, door open. Closet doors opened and shut in precise repetition. Lights on and off in the sequence. Curtains drawn, then half, then fully, aligning perfectly. Finger along the sill. Count the floorboards creaks. 7. Always 7. Fog the mirror. Circle. Run a shower. 2 cold, 1 hot. Wipe the mirror. The feeling ebbs slowly, inch by inch, until the rhythm of the ritual quiets the whispers in my mind. I finish in the kitchen with the final steps as I place the damned cup into the sink and wait for the groan. Mum's whispers fade, dissolving into the morning hum. The house is satisfied. I can finally breathe. Even then, I still feel as if I've forgotten something. A thread left hanging. A strange feeling for something I've done for decades, ever since I was a girl. That fear lingers, crawling along the edges of my mind like frost. I hold on to my determination. For now, that is enough. I glance at my phone, at the missed calls and concerned messages. I type back carefully. I'm fine, thank you. I stay home today, working on my hobbies and watching mindless videos online. The world feels too much for me today. I send a brief apology to Luke. He understands, wholeheartedly. By the end of the day, I am mentally wrecked, bracing myself for tomorrow and what work will demand. I prepare to perform my nightly routines when suddenly a knock comes from the door. Luke stands there, a box of chocolates in hand, smiling softly. Mind if I come in? He apologizes, and I reassure him it's not him at all. In fact, I wanted what he was thinking. It's fine, I say. It's something I'm used to. Hopefully I'll fall out of fashion with it eventually. If you really need to leave, you can do so at any time. I won't try to hold you back. I smile faintly, taking the chocolates from him. Oh, it's fine. It's all just new to me. I understand, he says, his voice softening. You rushed out so fast last night. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. He looks around the living room as if expecting to see ghosts that keep me tethered here. His eyes linger on the folded blankets, the lined-up coasters, the neat symmetry of the curtains. I can feel his quiet curiosity brushing against the edges of my order. It's very... He starts, then hesitates. Particular? I offer, setting the chocolates down. He laughs nervously. I was gonna say neat, but... Yeah, particular fits. The silence after his laugh feels heavy, but not unpleasant. He sits on the couch and I join him, close enough that I can smell the faint scent of cologne and coffee clinging to him. His warmth feels almost dangerous. I hate seeing you like this, he says quietly. So scared of being outside of this place. I'm not scared, I reply. I can't ignore it. The house needs balance. It's always been that way. He watches me, searching my face for something. And what if, just once, you didn't do it? What if nothing happens? The air seems to thicken. My pulse kicks up. Luke, I whisper, please don't. He reaches for my hand, thumb pressing against my wrist. I'm not trying to push. I just don't want you to live in fear of... He glances around. This. I pull my hand away, gently. It's not fear. It's just how I do things. He exhales, frustrated but tender. You sound like a caretaker for something that doesn't exist. I smile faintly, though it doesn't reach my eyes. It's fine if you don't understand. Honestly, I'm so used to it that it doesn't bother me. The look on his face shifts. Unease and annoyance. No, it definitely bothers you. I shake my head in disbelief. Sorry? Wait, no, that came out wrong. He adjusted himself and faced me. I just feel that, well, it doesn't sound like OCD. It's just a thing with this house. I continue to stare at him, uncomfortable. Maybe because of your mom? I feel the air in the room shift, colder. He said it so plainly, like he had peeled something open. My mom? I echo, my voice quiet. What about her? Luke hesitates, reading my expression. I mean, you said she made you do these things, right? Maybe you're just keeping them alive for her? He gives a half smile, trying to soften it, but the words feel sharp in the air. She's gone, Luke, I say flatly. I know, He sighs, rubbing his face. I didn't mean to sound rude. I just hate that you feel trapped by this. It's not about her. The words come out harder than I expect. I lower my gaze, twisting the fabric of my sleeve. It's the house. He leans forward. You talk like it's alive. Sometimes it feels that way, I murmur. It listens, it remembers. If I stop, it gets angry. There's a long pause. I can hear the refrigerator hum in the silence between us. Mom always said, the house doesn't like surprises, I murmur. Luke reaches for my hand again. I pull away again. I want to understand, he says gently. I really do. Maybe if I saw it, what you do at night. I shake my head immediately. No, it's private. It's not for anyone else. I don't have to touch anything, he says quickly. Just watch, keep you company, make sure you're okay. I can feel my chest tightening again, that creeping awareness of the house around us, the walls, the corners, the weight of it listening. But there's something in his eyes that's hard to refuse. Warmth. Love. And you won't do anything. You'll let me do it. No trying to make me change things. Nope, I'm here for you. His smile melts me. Okay, I'll show you. I lead him up the stairs and through the hallway, my hands trembling slightly. The house feels different tonight, as if it's aware of him in its walls, watching. The air seems stuffier, like the walls, like myself, are holding their breath. It starts here, I whisper, stopping by the open bedroom door. Luke nods, his expression soft, encouraging. I'll just watch, promise. I take a slow breath and begin. I walk in and stand by the bed, knock the wall 3 times. I strip the bed, then remake it. Bed corner straightened, sheets smoothed, pillows touching perfectly. Window and door closed. Check the closet, check it again. Curtains drawn, then half, then fully, finger along the sill. The motions are steady, automatic. Years of practice distilled into quiet precision. Luke stays silent. I can feel his eyes tracing every move I make. Count the floorboards creaks. 7. Always 7. When I go to the mirror in the bathroom, he steps closer. I hesitate, the rhythm faltering for just a heartbeat. You okay? He whispers. Shh, I say, sharper than I mean to. I soften my voice. Sorry, we have to be quiet. It has to listen. He nods again, lips pressed together. I breathe on the mirror, draw the circle. Since I'm not showering, I use the tap. The water running cold for 2, then hot for 1. Wipe the mirror clean, the house creaks faintly, as if acknowledging me. By the time I reach the kitchen, I can feel the tension leaving my body, replaced by that strange hollow calm. Luke follows, arms folded, uncertain. You do this every night? Yes. Kettle on, but stop before boil. The tap runs, cold, hot, cold. I take the cup from the sink, place it on the bench. Silence fills the room. Now I wait 20 seconds, then slide the cup to its final position, and voila. He nods. I don't know what I see in his face. I try to laugh it off, heat rising to mine. God, this is so embarrassing. You probably think I'm a freak or something. No, of course not. He steps behind me, wrapping his arms around tight. His warmth presses against me. I sigh, just a little. You have your quirks. That's fine, he murmurs. Thank you, I whisper. I reach for the cup, but his voice cuts in, gentle, curious. What if you didn't do that? I pause, frowning. It's not done yet. It has to go there. I point to the exact spot. I need to hear the creak of approval. The creak? Yeah, the roof creaks after I place the cup there. I go to move it, but his hands hold me still. Listen, he says. Just listen. He points upward. A long, groaning sound ripples through the ceiling. The familiar voice of my house. My stomach drops. No, that's wrong. It hasn't been placed yet. Babe, he says softly, smiling. It's what old houses do. He crosses to the sink and turns on the tap. Lets it run, then shuts it off. Watching him break the rhythm feels like watching an altar be defiled. My chest tightens. Wait for it, he says, checking his watch. At the 20-second mark, the house groans again. Another low creak from above. He smiles, triumphant. See? I noticed your rituals involved water and taps. Those sounds, they're just pipes filling and draining. That's all. I want to believe him. I really do. For the first time in years, someone is here in this house and the walls haven't swallowed me whole. His warmth fills the space that's always felt so cold. Maybe I could believe him. You're right, I nod. It's just old pipes. Luke exhales, relieved, smiling that gentle smile of his. He kisses my forehead. Exactly. You deserve peace. Peace. The word feels strange. We go upstairs together. The house groans faintly as we climb, like it's shifting in its sleep. I tell myself it's just the wood settling, that it doesn't mean anything. I don't count the steps. I keep my eyes on Luke, on the way he turns back every few seconds to make sure I'm still there. In the bedroom, I hesitate at the door. The familiar pull of habit tugs at my chest, a need to fix the corners of the bed, to draw the curtains in perfect halves. Even though I've done it, it lingers still. Luke's hand finds mine, and the impulse falters. Hey, he murmurs, just breathe. I do, for once. I breathe deeply and let it all out. We sit on the bed close enough that I can feel the heat of his body next to mine. The quiet stretches between us, gentle and human. When he reaches up to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, my breath catches. His hand lingers on my cheek, tentative, as though afraid to break something fragile. "It's okay," I whisper, unsure if I'm saying it to him or myself. When he kisses me, it's slow, hesitant at first, like testing an old lock that hasn't been turned in years, then warmer. His hands trace down my back, grounding me, reminding me I'm still flesh and blood, not a servant of walls and shadows. The house creaks once, but I ignore it. I close my eyes and let myself exist in this fragile borrowed space. We move together like it's something sacred, his breath against my neck, my hands clutching at him as if he's the only thing anchoring me to the world. It's quiet, tender, reverent, a soft rebellion against everything that's kept me chained here. When it's over, he holds me close. The warmth between us hums like a heartbeat. I rest my head on his chest, listening. I try to stay in that moment, to believe that this warmth, this closeness, can drown out everything else, that maybe I can finally belong to someone instead of it. But underneath the sheets, my pulse won't slow. The walls feel too close, the air hums faintly, not quite a sound, more like a vibration running through the bones of the house. I bury my face in Luke's shoulder, forcing myself to ignore it, to ignore the itch in my palms that want to knock 3 times, to ignore the whisper that starts behind the walls, low and muffled, a voice I've spent years obeying. I hold him tighter, pretend I don't feel it. The night stretches on, heavy and warm, and when the pull of sleep finally begins to drag me under, that feeling doesn't fade. It builds, crawling beneath my skin, pooling in my chest, a pressure I can't release. Then, from somewhere deep within the house, a clock chimes. Midnight. The pressure grows beneath my skin, curling through my chest and up into my head. I try to focus on Luke's warmth, the heartbeat beneath my ear. I tell myself it's nothing, that I'm fine. I repeat it like a mantra. Then, I woke up. The room is quiet. The sun bears through the open curtains. My body feels tight, alien, bruised, and exhausted, like I've been fighting in my sleep. My arms ache, my fingers throb. The faint smell of copper tingles in my nose. I look down. My arms are bruised. 3 nails tore clean off. Blood covering my thumbs drips onto the sheets. Panic floods me as crimson stains bloom beneath me. I crawl forward, stomach churning, the metallic scent thickening with every inch. I reach the edge of the bed and see him on the floor. Luke. His body lies in impossible angles. His arms are shattered, bent in ways they shouldn't bend. His neck is twisted, grotesque, like it had been gripped by some unrelenting force. His face is a mask of horror, eyes gouged clean, sockets glistening with dark red pulp. The blood is still warm, congealing. Tiny rivulets trail from the bed, soaking into the floorboards. The coppery scent is thick enough to taste. I crawl backwards in the bed, gagging. My stomach lurches violently. My hands shake uncontrollably as I touch my own arms, feeling the sharp pain, the proof of my own hands, my own body. My mind spins. How could I? I don't remember. My chest tightens again. I scream. Why? My voice cracks, echoing off the walls. Why? The tears come fast, hot and bitter, streaming down my cheeks. My fingers clutch at the sheets, the mattress. The sobs shake me to the bone. My voice echoes through the house, and the house answers. Knock. I freeze, heart hammering. Knock. I listen. Knock. I glance behind me, where I always start. I wait for another impact, even though I already know it won't come. I stumble from the bed to his ruined body, my hands shaking as I try to gather myself. His blood sticks to my skin, the warmth of it grounding me in the horror of what I've done, what's been done. The smell is unbearable, metallic and sweet, clinging to the air, to me. I take the sheets from the bed and drape them over him, my hands trembling so violently I barely manage it. My knees buckle and I slump to the floor, staring at the ceiling, the walls, the shadows. My chest heaves, my mind screams. The house doesn't like surprises. I slowly pull myself from the floor and reach the back wall, still racked with sobs, my tears mixing with the blood on my face. I knock 3 times. Okay, I take back every single thing I said about any kind of metaphor. This is a monster house situation. Dude, the way that that caught me so off guard. It was so, like, for a second, I wasn't even scared. It was so romantic. This is such a beautifully written story. GG Luke. That was insane. I was not expecting that. And I was so like, whoa, what happened? And to come to the realization that it was the house that made her do it. The house said, okay, you didn't give me what you want. Here's how I'm going to take my revenge out on you. And it actually possessed her to do this thing. So it probably does seem like she has, and her mother did have this OCD. Nobody would believe her mother if she told them what the consequences would be if she didn't follow these rituals. That the house itself would literally, I guess, possess her to do something absolutely awful. I was so immersed in this story, so engrossed in their relationship. It was so sweet, and I feel like they used the word warm a lot, but there was this warmth to this story. But there was also this sense of impending doom at the same time. There was this sense of dread just kind of looming over my shoulder. Call back to the first story, I guess. That was so good. What an ending to a really, really awesome story. Again, with the world building. Twhylight, the way that you describe your characters and the settings in your stories, it's just so effective. Like, these two were really good. They were on the longer side, so I think we're going to wrap it up for today, but I would love to dive into more of their stories in the future. That being said, thank you, Twhylight, for your permission to read these two amazing stories. Thank you for the follow-up recommendation of this story after the first one. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Creepy Crochet and Creepypasta. Hold the crochet for today. If you have a scary story that you discovered on Reddit that you want to hear me narrate, please link it in the comments down below. If you have a personal scary story for a chance to have it featured on the channel, email it to me at lydslunacysubmissions@gmail.com. Creepy crochet patterns and plushies are always available on my Etsy, link in description. Please like and subscribe should you feel so inclined. And yeah, thank you so much for all of your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye!